Chapter 7. Into the Maw. They moved when the lights were low and the world forgot to breathe. Nightfall here wasn't gentle. The planet traded day for a boiling electric dusk, a dimming of the floodlights, a thinning of the dust haze, thunder rolling like distant artillery. For the alien camp, it meant fewer patrols on the rim and more shift workers hunched over tasks below. For Stone, it meant the slender window they'd carved out, 2 or 3 minutes of chaos if they choreographed it right. "Keep it quiet," Stone murmured as they clambered down a ruin rib to a ledge that gave them a cleft-angle view of the southern scaffolds. No comms. No glowing anything. Eyes and ears. "Sounds dull," Mack whispered back, voice warm as velvet in Ace's ear. "You mean no jokes?" "You mean no getting us killed," Stone said. Ace hated the silence more than any noise. In daylight, he could see threat in the shape of a visor or the glint of a weapon. In darkness, his imagination built hazards out of simple shadows. He checked his kit twice, fingers fumbling with the familiarity of routine. Silent clips, blade sheath, the little smoke and flash charges Mack had jury-rigged into something like art. He tried to breathe slow and steady. The plan was stupid, fragile, and brilliant. Mack's sabotage would start a localized inferno at the fuel cache that would draw guards and create a choking wall of smoke. Stone would storm the nearest access ramp with Ace and Mack providing cover. They'd grab as many prisoners as they could lashed together, then sprint through the maze of wreckage back to the extraction route Stone had marked. An old transit tunnel half buried but passable if you didn't mind a tumble into the dark. "Timing," Stone said. 2-minute window once the drums blow. We get in, we get out. No one gets sentimental. "Sentiment's overrated," Mack muttered, and Ace heard the quaver under the jest. He knew Mack meant it. They slipped closer under a ragged overhang. The fuel drums crouched under a crane like a sleeping animal, painted in alien glyphs, but the corrosion and human-cobbled seals gave them away as the one weak point in the camp's periphery. Mack crept from shadow to shadow, a shadow himself, and set micro-sparkers along the seams. He moved like he'd done this 1,000 times. Ace moved like his boots were glued to the stone. "Mack, you absolute menace," Stone breathed, but it was tone, not accusation. Mack finished without comment, thumbed the arming pin out of a little device, and eased back. "Now," Mack whispered. The first drum erupted in a bloom of flame, like a small, angry sun. Soundless for the first heartbeat because of the dust, then a roar that shoved them to their knees. Heat washed over their faces underneath their visors. The scent of burning synth and oil punched at Ace's nose. Guards shouted in clipped alien syllables, an instant chorus of orders, translated only by the urgency in their tone. Floodlights spun toward the crater as if stunned. "Go!" Stone snapped. They dropped from the ledge and ran the scaffolding route Stone had picked. Low, fast, close to the columns where the fire's light made moving risky. Mack tore across the open and vanished into smoke, a silhouette that became part of the inferno. Ace saw one guard swivel, visor flaring red, a long-range spotter, and fired a suppressive burst where the beam had snagged. A bolt of green energy carved a gouge into the column, showering sparks, and the guard slumped. They moved like animals, instinct over thought, Ace's training stitched into his muscles. Stone led with cold certainty, clearing paths, breaching locked access points with compact charges that spat molten metal and left a jagged hole for them to slip through. Mack was everywhere and nowhere, his presence a chaotic boon. One moment he was covering them with a stolen alien rifle, the next he was pulling prisoners free with hands that were gentle in spite of everything. They hit the prisoner walkway less than a minute after the first blast. The prisoners were dazed, coughing smoke and blinking in the sudden dark, an animal chorus of confusion spreading through the work gangs. At least 20 lay in the immediate ring. Many were crammed in shallow alcoves that passed for holding pens. Faces turned to their 3 figures like desperate mariners spotting a rowboat. Ace felt the throat squeeze again. Stone was business. Mack was extraction. Ace was hands. He fumbled with straps and harnesses, working with the mechanical clumsiness of someone who had never been given responsibility for the living weight of others. He unfastened belts, slung a skein of rope, guided weary arms into loops. "Move!" Stone barked, and then quieter, to Ace. "Two at a time." No heroics. They were halfway through the first sweep when Ace did the rookie thing. He saw movement beyond the scaffolds, a flash of armor, a visor turning, and a thought slid through him like a small, bright blade. He's one of ours. The movement was too quick, too familiar. Ace dropped his load and turned to fetch a prisoner who had frozen, looking back at the scouts. He moved to intercept. Stone's voice cut like a whip. "Ace, no!" A bolt of alien fire slammed into the rail where Ace had just been standing. The metal hissed and a chunk spat molten slag. The guard's visor shone red, a siren screamed into the night. The 2-minute window shattered into glittering shards. "Contact!" Mack shouted. "Engaged!" Ace's stomach dove. He had bought a few heartbeats and sold them for 1,000 regrets. The camp snapped awake. Floodlights locked on new coordinates, and a dozen troopers, previously unseen, leapt to the run across catwalks. An armored enforcer, bigger, plated like a living tank, drove a wedge into the smoke and moved with a predator's certainty. Stone swore softly, then louder. "Move! Push! No one gets left!" They fought, and they fled at once. Stone advanced like a battering ram, clearing a lane with short, brutal bursts that toppled a guard or two. Mack strafed, voice a string of curses and encouragement, dragging one prisoner half-carried, half-pulled across jagged steel. Ace squeezed his trigger until his fingers burned, marking a handful of shots into armor that was cleverer than it should be. The plating bowed and shrugged, rather than crumpling. The enforcer hit them in full. It was like facing a wall. Bullets pinged off its joints. It advanced, a grinding, brutal thing, a column that took punishment and gave none. Mack lobbed a flash charge that detonated at its knee. The enforcer staggered, a joint sparking and smoking, but it didn't fall. It swung a fused arm that smashed a support beam. The scaffolding screamed and part of it came down, sending showers of metal and dust. A prisoner went under. Stone dove without thinking and heaved the man out, pulling him through the collapsing wreckage like he'd done it all his life. Ace felt his world narrow to a series of tight motions. Drag, hook rope, yank, run. Every sense screamed, heat, the bitter tang of smoke, a ringing in his ears, as though someone had hammered a bell close to his skull. He saw Mack lift a prisoner's face to read their eyes and say one word that meant hold on in a language older than their uniforms. The prisoner clung to him, a wet, coughing weight. They staggered for the transit tunnel Stone had found earlier. It yawned like a promise half-kept, dark, slick stone, the air inside cooler and mercifully free of flame. They shoved prisoners in 2 at a time, knotting ropes and keeping heads low. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit were chaotic and close. Boots shouted orders, the metallic whine of alien rifles re-aiming. Ace ran, and in the run he heard a sharp, horrible scream. Someone from their little band had been cut down on the return. He didn't look back. Stone's orders were carved into him, but the cry lodged like a splinter. They hit the tunnel, and Stone slammed a charge across the mouth, setting it to sprawl and collapse after them. 5 seconds, Stone called. Go! They pushed and shoved. A man grabbed Ace's hand, eyes wild, and for a single brittle instant, Ace saw everything he'd been trying to save. Family, small rooms, laughter, flash across a stranger's face, and then gone. They hit the darkness of the tunnel, and the world shrank to the metallic thump of boots and the rasp of breathing. Ace's lungs burned, his hands trembled, but the tunnel swallowed the worst of the noises. The last thing he saw before the wall of debris groaned down was the flared silhouette of the enforcer planting itself at the tunnel mouth like a god of iron. They were alive, Some of them were alive, not all. When the stones settled and the dust began to thin, Ace counted. 10 prisoners clambered, coughing and sobbing and clutching each other like something holy. 3 of them were barely conscious, faces purple with lack of air. One man, younger than Ace's earliest memories, clutched his leg, mangled under falling steel. Mack made a gruff noise and swallowed a curse that sounded like affection. Stone stood in the dark, chest heaving, rifle lowered but never idle. He looked at the ragged row of humans they'd dragged out of the pit, at the faces lit in the stuttered glow of emergency panels in their packs. He looked at Mack, at Ace. Then he exhaled once, long and quiet. "We did what we could," Stone said. It had the weight of truth and 100 other things that weren't said. "Move further in. Find room. Med check. We can't stay near the mouth. They'll pry us out." Ace should have felt triumphant. He felt hollow, and worse. He felt the shard in Stone's pouch thrum against his teeth like a warning bell. The whispers had followed them into the tunnel, softer now, but threaded through their breaths. He knelt beside a prisoner who had managed a half-smile through the soot. The man's hands were scarred, and he mouthed something that might have been thanks. Ace's throat closed. He swallowed the sob and instead offered the man a strip of ration and a nod that meant you're safe for a moment. Outside the tunnel, in the smoking crater, alarms must have been blaring. The enforcer's silhouette had vanished from the mouth, and the night resumed its slow, terrible breathing. Somewhere in the camp, they would be corralling, counting losses, rearming. And somewhere deeper in the pit, the drills would keep biting into the dark. Ace pressed his forehead to his knees. The rescue had worked. Imperfect, bloody, smaller than he'd wanted. But it had worked. Yet the victory tasted metallic, and the shard hummed like something very near awakening. He didn't know whether to be proud or to be terrified. Both feelings sat on him like wet stones. Mack, always the noisy salve, found his way to Ace and clapped a hand on his back hard enough to bruise and not enough to hurt. "Good work, rookie," he said. "You kept your hands steady." That's the important part. Ace managed a short, breathy laugh. "I messed up," he said. "You messed up and didn't die." That's practically a recruitment pitch. Mack's mouth twitched with a kind of sorrowful amusement. Tomorrow we'll argue about what we should have done different. Tonight we move and we keep them alive. Stone listened for a moment longer, then asked in a voice that was almost private, "Any permanent injuries?" Mack reported basics. Ace checked supplies. They secured the tunnel mouth with crude barricades and set up a hasty triage. The prisoners slept in fitful piles, arm over arm, as if waking up would mean the world would resume its cruelty. A child, too young for war, wept once and then snored with a sudden exhausted accuracy. Ace rested with his back to the stone and the shard's whisper threading through his dreams when he slept. In that half-sleep, the same red sky cut across his vision and spirals turned like shutters in a great machine. He woke with a hand clasped in the darkness and the taste of metal on his tongue. Stone watched them sleep like a sentinel, and when dawn tried to find them through broken stone, he rose and began the careful, necessary business of turning their small triumph into survival. They had saved some lives. They had earned a price. The dig still gaped open below them, and whatever waited in the black heart of the pit was larger, older, and more patient than any army. Ace thought of the shard in Stone's pouch, its secret heartbeat muffled but not gone. He thought of the way the prisoner's eyes had gone wide when they saw him. He thought of his mistake and the chunk of luck that had kept it from being a catastrophe. Outside the tunnel, the planet breathed its grinding breath. Inside, in the dim heart of the ruins, 3 soldiers and a band of ragged survivors tried to stitch together a night's rest, knowing full well that they had only delayed fate's next step. They had gone into the maw and come out with skin on their bones. That was not victory. It was, for now, enough.
Now's That is the end for this one. Make sure you come back for more, and like and subscribe. See you soon.